This a reminder.
Hey everybody, welcome to BGR Film Fest Fridays. I'm Beverly Bond, founder of Black Girls Rock, Black Girls Bond, and the BGR Film Fest. BGR Film Fest Fridays is a space where we gather every Friday to highlight powerful storytelling, to share real conversations about craft, purpose, and process. And now it's time to get into tonight's feature. We are proud to present award-winning director and writer, Allison Cavanis, who will share insights on her poetic and powerful short film exploring emotional labor, love, and reproductive justice, titled You Can Hide These Things. And to guide tonight's conversation, we're honored to welcome my dear friend, our host, Latham Thomas, who is a birth equity advocate and the founder of Mama Glow. And joining Latham is Allison Cavanis, our writer-director. Christina Elmore, the lead actress. You may have seen her in 20s. And Dr. Joya Crear-Perry, founder of the National Birth Equity Collective. All right, everybody, let's talk film, let's talk craft, let's talk truth. Welcome to BGR Film Fest Fridays.
Thank you, Beverly. And thank you all so much for being here today and for this incredible conversation that we get to have together. As Beverly said, I'm Latham Thomas, founder of the global maternal health and education platform, Mama Glow. And I'm really excited to have this conversation, especially with you three, because I think that the time that we're living in and this moment that we have, there's an opportunity for powerful storytelling, for visionaries like you, Allison, to bring forth messaging, but also thought-provoking storytelling that invites us into solution building, that invites us into an opportunity to think about what's possible, but also to understand where we have challenges that we face in our communities and to lay that bare. And I think to have Christina here with her acting prowess and her vision and storytelling and also embodiment of Black womanhood through so many ways that you've told stories through your various roles, right? And also being a mother and someone who's deeply connected to the Black femme experience. We're so appreciative. And Dr. Joya Crear-Perry, who is a pioneering leader in maternal health advocacy and policy and teaching, and really has in so many ways helped to shift not only the conversation, but also the action around how we advocate for Black women and femmes and think through solutions and really putting, I think that what we all have in common is putting our bodies right on the line. And this is one of the things that I think is so powerful as we talk about bodily autonomy, sovereignty, and in this context of the storytelling that we'll be sort of looking at today, this is something that we all individually do, but also that we have to do. And I think it's important to just frame that up first. And as we frame this, I want for everyone listening to understand as we talk about bodily autonomy. Before I get into the questions, one of the things that we're really centering here and that's so important for all of us to think about, but that's pivotal right now, is a conversation around reproductive justice. And for those who are unfamiliar, to frame up reproductive justice, this is the right to have a child, the right not to have a child, the right to raise a child that you choose to have in safety, dignity, and in community with resources, and the right to bodily autonomy and sovereignty, right? And so these are truths that Black women have carried forth, right? And really fought for in our communities. And so we'll be kind of unpacking some of that today. And so I just wanted to distinguish from many people, because I think that the conversation we always have when we center our bodies is one about reproductive rights, which often excludes Black women and femme experiences. And we really want to center that this storytelling and this lens is really unique to Black women and femmes specifically. And so, Allison, thank you for that opportunity and for this powerful moment that we've stepped into. And so I would like to start with you actually, and just ask you a little bit about the film and why you decided to go this path to create the film, and tell us really more about it and its premise.
Well, thank you for that, Latham, and thank you for the definition. I think that's very important people to understand. So the film, You Can Hide These Things, I actually wrote this like 9 years ago. I was inspired just by a moment when my family was dealing with something difficult, and I watched my aunt go into the bathroom, and I knew she was having a difficult time, and it just planted something in me that said, there's something about what happens when a woman goes to the bathroom by herself, So I wrote this as a part of an anthology series that looks at different women navigating modern womanhood, and we only see them in the bathrooms that they enter. So that's the space that I think is the playground for this type of story, because it's the space where women are expected to just handle things, in private, and I want to start saying the private part out loud, right? So this film centers a woman named Jade, played by Christina Elmore, and we meet her at the moment right after she and her husband have sex. And we learn that he did not withdraw, and that she's ovulating, and that they hadn't discussed having a third child. And so the film then, it's a short, and it looks at what happens in those next 72 hours. And spoiler, she ends up buying a emergency contraceptive pill, but doesn't tell her husband, and he finds it. And this then creates the opportunity for them to really say the things they haven't been saying. And so I felt like now was the time to bring the story out. It's just been kind of sitting on a hard drive, and I was like, okay, let me take this off the shelf. And I was revising the script, on my laptop, getting these news alerts about all the different ways our bodily autonomy and reproductive rights are being stripped away in this country. And it was just surreal. I was like, okay, this film has seen its time, and I feel like making it is a way for me to try to move the needle a little bit on an emotional level. So I think we see a lot of headlines and people are very polarized about the issues around reproductive justice, but I'm like, this is a very common, intimate story that no matter where you sit on party lines, or where your values lie, this is something that I think a lot of women can relate to. I think a lot of people can relate to. And it's also about, the pressures of trying to be everything for everybody. I think there's something to be said about taking ownership of your life and autonomy in a way with your body and your time and how you live your life. So I'm really excited to be bringing it forward.
I think it's so symbolic that this is a time that you chose to do it. I mean, so many things have happened in our reproductive landscape, in our political landscape. And this time, I feel like, is so important really for us as we think through the social, political, and really our community, the implications, of a lot of the choices that have a lot of the legislation that is draconian in nature, and what that means for us and our bodies, and to wrap it so tenderly in a story that is rooted in family and dynamics, and a couple's, family is so sensitive, but also so real. And so thank you for the opportunity to for us to see something that is really an everyday occurrence, right? But handle it so tenderly and allow Black women to be seen. I'd like to ask you, Christina, as you think about like your journey and your experiences living right as a Black woman, but also as an actor, what did you connect to most through the character and the script, and what did it mean for you? What does it mean for you?
So when Allison first sent it to me, I didn't know much about it, and after reading it, I didn't expect to be so like personally seen. Jade and I, her story is not mine, but I can resonate so much with the idea of, but I'm in a family and we have it all, and why wouldn't we just welcome every good gift, or that I should just go along with whatever comes. And the idea that no, in a marriage, in a loving marriage, in a beautiful family with children, you still get to make the choice for yourself. you still deserve bodily autonomy. You still deserve that sovereignty. You still deserve discussion and privacy. And that I think that that's not talked about enough, that even within what seems like the structure that seems to be working, and why wouldn't you just, well, I guess if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And I think that I have so many friends, and I've had this private conversation on so many phone calls about, oh no, I think I am ovulating. Oh no, I'm not sure what's going to happen next. Oh no, I don't know that he withdrawed in time. Oh no, I don't think I think my birth control may have failed. And and for so many of us, especially after you have children and you are in a monogamous, especially relationship, um, it can feel like you don't have the right to feel what you feel. And you don't have the right to what you want, when you want it, and how you want it. Um, and to see that it was handled, like you said, with such care and tenderness. I wrote back, I was like, yeah, I want to do it. Please sign me up. I know this woman. I feel this woman. I have been this woman. And I'm really grateful that we get to do it together.
I love that. And, I think it's so interesting too that it's not often discussed, but it's widely known that the people who end up making the choice to terminate pregnancies are often already parents. And so, Dr. Joya, I'd love to talk to you about this, the fact that, we have to navigate this really, challenging terrain, and a lot of our stories, specifically as because people think like there's one type of person who makes a certain type of choice, and not that we're on a continuum and there's all types of impediments to our ability to make these choices, right? I'd love for you to speak about, in the context of the work that you do, the people that you're seeing, and really what this moment that we're currently living in, what drew you to the film, and why do you think this is an exciting time to tell this type of story?
I was just so grateful, honestly, when Allison reached out to tell me about this storyline. It is a beautiful story that's not told, and it happens frequently. As an OBGYN seeing patients in New Orleans, it was a common discussion for people, the range, if you were married, unmarried, if you were in a happy relationship, not happy relationship, the idea that you have personal body autonomy. So it's something we don't even talk about. I mean, I'm raising a daughter who's 32 years old and recently had a baby. And in this current political context, her even thinking about her own her personal body autonomy as a young woman who was raised by me, who knows these things to be true. Latham, you started with the tenets of reproductive justice, and that's 30 years old. And it was started by Black women who really wanted this idea. There were 12 Black women who said, hey, we are not only focused on abortion, we need the access to be able to control our bodies at all times. And so that might mean taking a plan B, which before there was a plan B, I'm old enough to be an OBGYN that we used to just extend our friends and give our patients a bunch of pills and say, take 4 pills if you've had unprotected sex. All they did is market that into one pill. And so we've always been able to, before there was a pill, Black women who were enslaved, they took roots and took medications to be able to control their own bodies. Even the Catholic Church was not opposed to abortion when it first came about. So I just want us to really think about how important it is, the power that we have because we can birth, and how that creates a jealousy within patriarchy. And you see that in our current political system. You see that played out in our laws and places across the country that are clawing back people's ability to make decisions about themselves. And when I use the word abortion, I don't just mean elective. Elective abortion is what you hear people talking about. And we don't allow women of color, we don't allow diverse populations to elect to do anything. We say we control that for you. But abortion for us also means miscarriage. Abortion is a medical term. So I want to reclaim the word, and for us to not be afraid to say the word. It's not a dirty word. It's not a secret. The more we hide. And so I love the title even, because hiding how we make reproductive autonomy decisions is how we get to a place that we can't have these honest discussions. So the beauty of this film is that it allows us to have a conversation that we hide from and run from, and we're all doing it every day. We're making these kind of decisions, even if it's something as simple as deciding not to have sex because we're afraid that we might become pregnant. That is a decision to control our own bodies.
Yes, I love this taking back, right? And reclaiming the opportunity, right, to stand in our autonomy in our bodies. And I think that especially right now, I've seen so many And I know, Dr. Joy, you have this where people forget how their bodies work. They call you and they're like, so again, I think that they're doing the math and like praying for a period that they'll preserve.
I have one of my best friends. I was in her wedding, and then I brought the pills, and the wedding was crazy, and we couldn't give them to her. And so then 6 weeks later, she said, "I need to get those pills from you. When should I start them?" I said, "Well, when is your period due?" She said, "Oh, it was due 2 weeks ago." I said, "Baby, that's a wrap." There's no pill.
And I find it so interesting, right? How this happens where we do have this base knowledge and some of us don't, right? But a lot of us have this base knowledge. And then when it comes to when you have what you feel like to be a scare, right? Then it's suddenly like everything goes out, your entire knowledge of the reproductive system goes out the window. And also, but your faith, right? In your body and understanding. And so I think it's so important also to underscore here that having relationships, right, with providers and a safety net of a care team that is with you along your reproductive life course is really important. So that well care, I think, also helps us to have that feeling of safety when we do need to make that phone call and say, I think I might have done something, don't judge me for it, but like, I might need your help, right? Or what's the pathway, clinical or otherwise, to find a solution that works for me and or my family. And I love that we get to sort of, within the film, think about what those choices mean for us, right? Like we get to put ourselves in the shoes of the character and think like, oh my gosh, like, you know, what would I be reaching for? Who would I be reaching out to? What's the safety net in place? What's the social service safety net look like? What does my community look like, right? In a time like this, where it can be extremely isolating, even in the context of a relationship where there is love, right? And so I think, you know, I'd love to ask one question before we take a little bit of a break too. The film touches on themes of love, right? And trust and autonomy and intimate relationships. Allison, I think that this is something that like you weave beautifully. Can you tell us why this is an urgent conversation and really a story to platform right now?
Yeah, it's, you know, the reason I think it's so urgent is the answer to that has come to me in even this phase of the filmmaking process, because now I'm fundraising for the film. I'm talking to people about it. We're hearing this live, and the more I talk about it, you would not believe the amount of stories I get back. People affirming to me that, oh, this is definitely a story we need to tell, because I've heard some wild stories about how the many different ways this happens within marriage, within committed, monogamous, loving relationships, where versions of this story happen. And, you know, it's a touchy issue too, right? Because Christina, you were saying earlier, right? Like, shouldn't we just accept this? We're married, we're here, it's the expectation, you know, we're supposed to be doing this. And it's almost like you don't have a say over your own body. And I've seen it break up marriages. I've seen it have I've heard devastating stories of how, you know, what can happen next. And this is not, you know, this is not actually something I see often talked about in film, in media. I just, you know, we hear so much about the legislation. We hear so much about, you know, some, you know, extreme stories, but like, and even the idea of bodily autonomy, like it puts you in a mindset, or a reproductive justice puts you in a mindset of like something tragic and something so far-fetched and unfortunate. And it's like, this happens in you know, in relationship goals. You know, this happens inside of, you know, and it's complex. And I feel like we need to have those complex conversations right now. That's how we get out of this polarized society we're in, because it's not black and white. You know, you can you can be in a marriage that's loving, you can have that much trust with each other, and there can be coercion, there can be violation. It exists. It's not one or the other. You know, there's no light and dark, you know, Star Wars. This is like very nuanced. It's very, it's something we all, I think people have conflicting opinions and experiences to draw from. So I think it's super urgent that we try to have conversations that underline those complexities.
I'd love to ask a little bit about how film can be used as a pathway, not only for entertainment, but a tool for awareness building, right? And advocacy. We've all seen really powerful examples of film and the creative arts and performing arts, visual arts and performing arts being really powerful tools to storytell, but also to platform issues, right? And art is obviously inherently political. And so I'd love, Allison, I'll have you kick off and then I'll have everyone else speak from their lenses, just about like how we can use this as a tool and how you hope people will, as the film is complete and distributed, how we will utilize this film and what spaces you hope it's in, and how you want to use it as a tool for social awareness and advocacy building.
Yeah, so that's part of the reason why, I initially had reached out to Joya, because I was like, I feel like this is something bigger than I even have the access points for. Like, I feel like this is a story. There are so many people fighting the fight, right, for reproductive justice, and there are movements in place that I feel like the film could be a good companion for. So I would love to, host screenings, do co-hostings of screenings, and where we can watch the film and then have the conversations, both virtually and in person. I feel like, the film could be screened inside, institutions of higher learning. I think some of the sensitivities, around it could be potentially used to just kind of contextualize how intimate and that this is not just like another case or another patient. These are like, very nuanced realities that we're dealing with. And then I think, I would love for this to be used on the legislative level as an advocacy piece. I would love for this to be screened in rooms where people are making decisions about, people's reproductive rights. I would love for this film to be a way to break past what people just kind of automatically think because they're supposed to think one way or supposed to vote one way. I would love for the film to just have an opening in the heart, on the heart level, for people to see and be able to take it outside of, the legislative and into the very intimate.
Thank you for that, Dr. Joya. And adding on to that, how do you think that artists and activists can work together more seamlessly and collaborate more meaningfully to do this type of work? And I don't know if you have examples of models or ways that you have done this as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to share. So back in 2015, when we started, we made a film about Black maternal health and the fact that Black women were dying in childbirth. It was a documentary, and it was about 45 minutes long, and we cut it down to like an 8-minute slice and then a 3-minute slice, and we played it on Capitol Hill. We did the first briefing with the Congressional Black Caucus, where we had my colleague Cherise Scott, who runs Sister Reach, say that America was built on the wombs of Black women in the People's House of Congress after seeing a piece of the film. So it would frame the conversation. We did it with Patrice Coulons-Cooler at the California African American Museum. I did it at Essence Fest. We rented out a theater and we brought women in. So I do think people are now a lot more aware of birth equity and of the Black maternal health crisis because we were able to start with this collaboration between the artistry and between having films, and a lot of other films have been made about Black maternal health since then, and I'm honored to be in a few of them. And I know that being able to collaborate, you need, and there have even been TV shows. We've done work with some episodes of some running TV shows with some groups. So there is a great opportunity to change. Just remember this, that the people who are the Daughters of the Confederacy had a very concrete strategy to change how we saw film, how we saw, they played Birth of America in the White House, right? So we have to proactively see ourselves as using film and art and artists as a way to change away from white supremacy and patriarchy and eugenics to reproductive justice, to birth equity, to justice and joy. So we can be as proactive and make sure that funders and make sure that donors see this as something to invest in, to actually get us away from the harm that we see right now, where we're taking disappearing people to other countries. Like, that is still tied to this conversation. There's no difference between what's happening across the world when it comes to harm and this conversation we're having about personal body autonomy in this film. So being able to use this to push the conversation again at Essence and all these other places, I would love to see that happen.
Thank you for that. I love the vision. Christina, how do we ensure that this type of work reaches the communities that need them most? Like, I feel like we're in a time where there's so much, right? We have all these amazing social tools but yet I feel like sometimes it feels like there's so much noise and it's hard to kind of penetrate. And you're in the art space, right? Like you give birth to a project and it's like, oh, now we got to go promote it.
Yeah.
And so can you talk to us about that? Like, how do we ensure, what are some pathways that work well? What should we be thinking about in spreading the word as well?
I don't know how we ensure, but I do know there is something powerful about a short film. I think we often think about like short films, oh, they're to get into festivals and then to make your bigger thing, or they're to, it's the thing you're trying to do, and then maybe you'll do another bigger thing. But I think there is, especially in an age of social media, where so much of the entertainment and even our news and our cooking, so much of our lives is being given to us in short form, that I think there is a power to this being such an intimate, small, short film that it can be, you can see it on a big screen, but you could also experience it in your pocket, in your hand. And I think that, like Dr. Joya was saying, that cutting her documentary to a 3-minute slice and then an 8-minute slice, I think there's power in short bursts, especially when I think of Black men who need to see this film. Well, all men. But I think that I think we think of this film, and I think when I first thought of it, I thought, this is a woman's story. This is a film story. But it's a story about a relationship and about who has say and who gets to make decisions and how those decisions affect our bodies, ourselves, our futures. And I think that we desperately need to be having this conversation with each other. And I think being able to say, hey, I have this quick thing I want you to see, or hey, it's small, it's short, and it has such an impact and power that I'm so excited that it's a short film, and not as a stepping stone, but as a full artistic endeavor that has packs a lot of punch, to have these kind of conversations, especially within relationships, so that it's not just what happens after the violation, but it's how do we avoid getting to that place in the first place? How do I get to have a say before we have sex about what I want, what I expect, and what you want, and what you expect, and what our goals for this family is, and what they aren't. But I'm grateful that it's small. I'm grateful that it's short, and I think that there's power in getting out in so many mediums because of that.
I love that. Yeah, we're in a time also where attention is a really expensive commodity. And so
Yes.
just capturing a couple minutes of attention is really makes sense, right? To ensure that people get the message. So thank you for that reminder. Allison, we are in deep pre-production, right? Can you talk about, with the script being complete and team coming together and things of that nature, like what it looks like to be on the ground with logistical needs that still need to be met, how you navigate this stage of the process, and also people may or may not realize films cost money, and so they have to be paid for, and people think the sexy side is just seeing this on screen, but somebody has to produce, right? And so can you talk about the fundraising, what's necessary, what's needed, how people can really help you? I would love to underscore a couple things before you answer this, because it's sometimes uncomfortable, I feel like, for people to ask for money. But what I would say is this, when we have creative endeavors, whether it's writing a book, developing a screenplay, producing a film, if it's doing a music album, whatever it is, Black people are judged unfairly. And we have a different set of standards for performance that our white counterparts do not have. Like they could have like zero talent, they could, have all of the resources put behind them because they are literally supported based on potential. And we have to overprove ourselves. And we could have run the whole thing and still will have to cross hurdles and have the goalposts moved. And I say that to say that in financing for projects that are really important, it'll have to be, you have to prove so much. And there is a risk aversion, right, to financing a lot of our projects because people believe that we will not actually go support. But the data shows otherwise. The data shows that Black people do go watch film, but we actually support our projects, right? And our projects outperform mainstream projects, right? That get the funding, resources, as well as the promotion, right? Dollars. And so I just want to caveat that because it's already swimming upstream, right? And so when you share with us what, candidly, hopefully, what the challenges and barriers look like, that hopefully will be an opportunity for us to catalyze, right, around this work, but also understand the responsibility that each of us has in bringing our own resources, albeit financial, social, relationships that we may have, whatever it might be, to help advance this type of work, because that is how it happens. In these rooms where people are financed, there's also people who know other people who are like, I'm doing a favor for this person. I know this person. We went to school together, whatever it is. That is how they get their films made. And so I wanted to just underscore that. So we need to make donations. We need to help send money. And I don't want to put all that on you by yourself, but if you could explain to us a little bit about what you're now up against and what could be helpful, I think that that's the transparency that's necessary to kind of help galvanize the community to get this work done. And so people can understand also how incredibly powerful, but also challenging it is to make a project. Like you said, this is like, this was sitting for 9 years, but now it's coming together, and it does take time, but it also takes resources. So map it out for us, help us understand.
Oh, first of all, thank you so much for contextualizing that, because when I tell you I look at it as like, oh, it's me. I have a hard time asking for help. But when you look at it in a larger scale, as a Black woman in this world, asking for something is just, on a personal level, it just feels like, I feel like I have to prove, I feel like I really have to prove, why I like we just looked at my reel, and you see the work that I've done out here in this world. Like I've paid my dues, I feel like, and moving from a lot of the work I've done where it's work that I've loved, but they weren't my stories. And now moving into telling my story, it's like, okay, I got to build it from the ground up. There's no big corporation behind it. I don't have a bunch of like rich friends from school. I could just be like, hey, back this, put a bunch of money in and, have one angel investor. I mean, I will call that in if there is one angel investor. But, it's very uncomfortable asking for support, especially when you're an artist and you just want to tell a story and you want to, do a thing. It's like, I want to just stay in that place. But the truth is, oftentimes, you have to step outside your comfort zone, and that's how things get done. So yeah, right now in the filmmaking process, I've partnered. I've got like my production crew together. I've got my team. I know, it's like we're going back. we've got our crew, we've got between Prodigal Entertainment and the Traveling Picture Show Company helping to produce the film. We've got our beautiful cast. We've got Janita Bellamy, our producer. We've got Romulus Burgess, who's a beautiful director of photography shooting the film. Like we have a wonderful team. We have a location. And now it's like, okay, we have to figure out the money. We've got to, it's really important to me that we're able to pay people for their work. It's like we're living in a Hollywood right now that is struggling. Our industry, left and right, people are having to make all types of backflip decisions, trying to figure out how to just get by. And so, it's very important to me to be able to pay people properly. I don't have necessarily the big, conglomerate money, but it's like, I'd like to at least get close, to that. And so, people say, oh, when you make a short film, people do favors. I'm like, yes, that's great. That's wonderful. But also I would really prefer it if we could pay people properly, So this is where I need to lean on my community and say, listen, I know, some people I haven't spoken to in years. I mean, everyone from like my closest friends and family to just even strangers I don't even know, people are showing up and giving so much support for this film. And it's like, it like the first week of the campaign, I was just crying. I was just like, oh my gosh, people are really coming out and supporting the film. And we still have a ways to go. This campaign still has another 2 weeks. And we're hoping to raise more money. So if you're watching right now, you can go to the link here. It's AllisonCavanis.com/hide, and that will take you to the Kickstarter page. And for all the filmmakers out there, I'm looking at Kickstarter. It's such a great community and such a great platform. Like, I love seeing other creative people just out there doing their thing and, building things from the ground up. And I was reading an article the other day about how, there's not just like indie, like gotta make it happen filmmakers out here using Kickstarter as a platform, because the film industry is so much about huge IP and spin-offs. And it's like, if you want to make a film that tells a very unique story, sometimes you have to go the independent route. And, there was even the film that like told the story of Donald Trump, that like raised a bunch of its funds on Kickstarter and went on to like, tell the truth, because none of the studios wanted to take the risk, because you had him sending cease and desist letters to everybody, but that filmmaker wanted to tell this story. And so it's like, and was able to do it through crowdfunding. And so it feels a bit like, Latham, I think you started the conversation by saying now feels like the time. I feel like artists are called, right? It's like we are in a world that is trying to suppress and oppress and take away. And it's like, this is the time where artists, I think, activate. And this is the time that we have to come together and hold hands. And we have to support one another. And that's how the work gets done. Especially, we have books that are being banned, and, our history is being erased. There's so many stories we have to tell. And I think the independent route is such a powerful route. And I love to see the community come together in support of it. So thank you, everyone who has given. And if you haven't, you can take a look. And I think we have a video to play too.
Hey guys,
get some information.
I decided to do this like one of those get ready with me videos, because why not? I'm Allison Cavanis, the writer and director of You Can Hide These Things. I've directed commercials, music videos, promos, and documentaries. I've worked with amazing talent and learned that storytelling is where change begins. I'm really excited to be making my narrative directorial debut with You Can Hide These Things, starring Christina Elmore and Nyasha Hatendi. It's a drama about a woman's quiet battle for agency in her marriage that erupts when her husband discovers her hidden emergency contraceptive. And the entire film is witnessed inside the four walls of their home bathroom, which is why I'm here. Side note, I make this face oil myself. Check out the reward section and get you some. Why the bathroom? Well, I've been exploring the sanctuary of the bathroom in my work for quite a while. It is where we face our most authentic selves. I wrote this short as part of an anthology series. I decided to direct this bathroom story first because I feel like I have to. There's so much focus on legislation around a woman's right to choose. But at the root of these difficult choices, you often find a man and a woman at the crux of that very first choice. A choice I believe must always be mutual. This film isn't about painting anyone as a villain, but rather showing that love and violation can and often do coexist, and knowing that we can move forward from that place. It's also my way of exploring the fear of losing yourself while trying to be everything for everyone. I think a lot of people can relate to that, and hopefully when they see this, they'll feel less alone. And it will all be told in a visual style that evokes empathy, vulnerability, and trust. The film is being produced by the Traveling Picture Show Company and Prodigal Entertainment, an awesome award-winning team. This film is happening, y'all. And you know you want to be a part of it. So go check out our reward tiers. We have some limited edition items and luxurious self-care products. And we're creating a Kickstarter exclusive hard copy book of the film. I mean, we're ready. All we need is you. So come on, community. Back my film, so we can share it with the world. Thank you.
I love it.
That's amazing.
Oh, did we lose Latham?
Well, people back it. Come on now.
Yeah.
That was the best get ready with me I've ever seen.
It's beautiful.
Ready to make this film.
Yes.
So beautiful, so incredible. I know we're going to wrap up soon, but I would love to ask, Christina, I mean, first of all, how does it feel to be a part of a project like this when you're thinking about heading into a role? There's so much emotion, right, that goes into playing any character, but certainly one that's been properly developed where you can explore the emotion and the intimacy and the layers that are really baked in for you. And so I'd love for you to describe a little bit about how you begin to prepare for this process, right, of bringing a character to life like this, and what was that like as you when you kind of described earlier, like reading the pages, there's all this excitement, like from your perspective, like what is that like to kind of feel that connection and think through how you want to bring to life on screen what you're reading on paper?
Well, I think the sort of nuts and bolts craft acting part of it, nobody cares about how that happens. But I think what I think people might care about is that connection that you suddenly feel, that sort of like buzziness that I get when I'm like, oh, this is a fully realized person in a moment in her life. It's not, like I was saying before, I think there's something so beautiful about a short because it's just this small, intimate piece of a woman's life. And I think about all those moments that I'm in the bathroom by myself and where I'm, first of all, getting privacy from my children, privacy away from my husband, where I'm staying in there a lot longer than I have any business because I'm taking these moments to think, I'm taking these moments to reflect, to look at myself in the mirror. There's a couple of beautiful moments of the film where, when you're in the bathroom by yourself and you start to feel yourself for a second. And I think that's such a yummy part of being a human, especially being a woman of them. And I'm so excited to dig into those little moments. And so I think I've become more aware of them as I even start to think about the film and prepare, that I'm clocking moments in my own personal life that are just for me, those hidden private times, and trying to just remember those as we head into when I'll be doing them in front of a camera. I'm also really reflecting on the conversations that I've had with friends and family who've been in similar spots. I have deep, rich relationships with a lot of sister friends. And we're the kind who call each other in moments like this. And so I'm bringing their stories with me. I'm bringing my own relationship with my partner and our story with me. And that those moments where there's a moment, another moment, I'm trying not to give it all away, but there's a moment where Jade hears her child before she, and how you turn off your privacy to come back into your motherhood. And you have to shut off a little part of what you're dealing with, but it's still with you. And I think I have those moments every day, and I'm excited to get to share them. I don't think we see enough of them. I do think sometimes with white women, we see a lot of their pathos, a lot of their pain. We see a lot of their joy. We see a lot of their frustrations. And then we see Black women being strong. And I am so excited to not have to see a Black woman being strong or saving the day. And those are fine too. But this is a moment I'm really excited to explore.
Thank you for that. Dr. Joya, what gives you hope as we think about this moment that we're in, a film like this, being brought into the world and centering, this framework of reproductive justice? What gives you hope?
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, my biggest hope right now is my little grandson. When I look at his little 3-month-old self, I can see imagine what his life will be like 50 years from now. And how do we create a world where he understands this fully? Like many of you on this, I'm raising two boys as well, but to become Black men. And how the hope that I have that they will have a much deeper understanding of this conversation due to films like Allison's, due to films and conversations like these, that my father, trust me, he's the physician, and he was like, so these things about consent, what does that mean? Right. So the evolution of the conversation for personal bodily autonomy, the evolution of the conversation around abortion, the evolution around infertility, around if you do need consent even while you are married, that is a real thing. And that we have never, didn't have, that was not even legal 50 years ago, that women had to get permission from their husbands to buy birth control pills. So it gives me hope is to look at my grandson and say, you know what, when you are 50, the world's going to be so much better, because although right now it's crazy, but it was this last gasp of crazy before we can really have justice and joy. I really believe that. And this film is an answer to that.
Ooh, thank you. I love that. I feel tingling in my body as we think about it. And also, yes, the future, because we have to build that for our so thank you. Allison, I would just love to ask you one final question, just to close out. As we leave folks today, any final thoughts, what you want people to take away, what you want people to know about the love that you poured into this film, and also if you can give us a number that you're trying to reach, for your goal. I think that also is helpful because it's tangible and gives people something to reach for as they make their donations. So if you can just, close us out with some words of inspiration about this project, but also about what we should be thinking towards as a goal collectively in community for supporting the work.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to just encourage a lot of the people watching to tell your stories. Like I said, I wrote this story a long time ago. And just the fact that it took 9 years is what it is. The fact is, you don't give up on your stories. You tell them. I think when a story is yours to tell, it will not leave you alone. And, I love what is happening here with BGR Film Fest, and just, encouraging, especially Black women, to tell our stories, because we can't, no one else will. Like, no one else is going to tell them the way that we can tell them. So even if it's something you've been sitting on forever, there's no wrong time to start. There's no wrong time to ask. There's no wrong time to just go ahead and make it. So that's what I really want to leave with. And because I know for me, it feels like this would not leave me alone. I wrote it, I was like, okay, I wrote it, maybe one day I'll do it. And that one day became the day one. And here we are. And, sometimes the timing is, you had to wait for the right time. Sometimes you're time is not linear. So,
Mhm.
creativity is not linear. So we have to just trust and go forward. And, in terms of this film, You Can Hide These Things. Shout out to Malika Jules, who came up with that title. She's a writer friend of mine. We brainstormed. I was like, I need a good title. And she just said it out of her mouth in conversation. And I was like, that's it. That's it. There's a lot of love. There's so much love that's going into making this film. You can hide these things. If you go to AllisonCavanis.com/hide, it'll take you straight to our Kickstarter page, and you can read all about the film and all about the plans. And you can see our goal is at $20,000. We are inching toward that goal. We have, like I said, we have 2 more weeks. So if you're watching right now, go to that site and make your donation, whatever amount you wish to make. Just join in, back the film. We have rewards also. It's not just a donation. You can get things. We're making a physical book. We have all types of products that you can buy, because again, it's like the bathroom, so there's lots of self-care in there as well, because we deserve that. And help us reach $20,000 so we can make this film.
You got it. It's going to happen today.
It's going to happen today. I believe it. And thank
you. So maybe.
Yes. And I wanted to say thank you to Black Girls Rock, to Beverly Bond, to all of you for watching, to Christina, Dr. Joya, Latham. She dropped off, but I know she's there. Glenda and Janita for working behind the scenes. Thank you all.
Movie, important work, important story. Really excited about seeing this come to life. I love not just the story, but also the visuals. I thought that was really important for telling stories. Also, just the craft of filmmaking, which Allison, I know you have so much experience. And for those of you that don't know, Allison's also creative director for Black Girls Rock. So we're excited about this film. But support her. You see we have the donation link right here. Not the link, but we have the information right below, and we have to support our work. It's the only way it gets made. Also, make sure you're supporting Black Girls Rock. Thank you, Glenda, for putting that up, because we can't do this work without your support. So go to blackgirlsrock.com, and you can find all the ways to donate to us. It would be so helpful to everything that we're doing. And I just want to thank you. I think we lost Latham. Glenda?
I think Latham is back, so I'm actually going to add her back up here.
Okay.
Grateful she was able to hop back on. Give me a second, and I will add her back.
All right. Well, in the meantime, I just, again, thank you, ladies, so much for this. This is beautiful, great work. I'm just so excited about this. I'm so excited, for this platform in general, but I really think that this is a great way for us to really just make our voices heard. Black women in media, Black women in film, in storytelling, in writing. It's just a great way for us to be able to be present and to be effective. Black Girls Rock is actually on its journey to its 20th year. And just looking at the impact of what we were able to do from the very beginning through now, it's just really mind-boggling to think about the way in which all of the tentacles of this foundation started and moved out through the world. And it's great, but it's not enough. You know what I mean? It's all of our work together that makes the change. And so that's what's really important here. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Beverly, and welcome back, Latham. We also want to thank our audience for joining us this evening for the inaugural BGR Film Fest Fridays chat. It was a wonderful conversation anchored by the powerful film, You Can Hide These Things, which you already heard and know. It will be a resonant exploration of Black women's health, maternal health, healing, truth telling, created by the visionary Allison Cavanis. We're immensely grateful, as Beverly just noted, for Dr. Joy, for Christina Elmore, for Latham Thomas. Thank you for moderating this brilliant conversation with such grace and depth. And to Beverly, thank you for ideating and launching this transformative series. I know it's going to be a powerful space, a community for filmmakers and film lovers alike. If this dialogue moved you as it did for me at Stage and the rest of us participating in this conversation, please support the film. You Can Hide These Things and its continued journey toward impact and visibility. We also invite you to support Black Girls Rock, an organization dedicated to amplifying the voices, stories, and futures of Black women and girls. Every contribution fuels our respective missions. So it should be needless to say, no donation is too small. Every bit gets us closer to the goal that Allison named. You can also stay connected with us across all platforms, Black Girls Rock on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. You'll also see a collaborative video with all of our speakers. So if you go to our page, click on the collaborative video, we also invite you to follow each of the speakers you heard from this evening. Thank you so much. And until next time, rock on.
Just a reminder.